When I hit 38 years old, I basically decided that I was going to skip middle age and go straight to granny. And I picked up a lot of granny habits in the process, and it has taught me a ton of things. I have loved every one, so I'm going to do a series now called In Defense of Granny Habits. This video is going to be about both gardening and bird watching because I think they are both things that go really well together in tandem. People who know me, people who have been here for a while know that I do a big garden every year. Well, it started out as a very, very small garden, and I've built it up a little bit every year. It is pretty much what my family looks forward to every winter. Just as soon as the cold is done, we get to break open the garden and plant the plants and everything. And I think they're two very important hobbies to have, and that's why I made them for first video. I think they're very important for your mental health, for your physical health, for your sense of well-being with the world around you, in tons of ways that you're probably not expecting if you've never been a gardener yourself. So before we get started, when you're thinking about things like gardening and bird watching, don't let yourself get too discouraged if your gardening or your bird watching can't look exactly like mine or other people's. For some people, it's going to be a big garden. For some people, it's going to be a couple of potted plants in their apartment window or on their balcony. For other people, it might be going to a community garden or going to your grandmother's house and helping her with her garden. Don't get too caught up if you don't have a big garden right outside your back door. There's probably something in your life that will allow you to take advantage of gardening. And if you don't presently have those things, it gives you something to build towards as well. So first off, gardening. Gardening is rewarding both in a nostalgic sense and also in a like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing as a human sense. Like if your bloodline has survived this long, it is probably because many, many years of successful agriculture have been involved in the process. In some level, your body wants to be playing with dirt, wants to be seeing plants grow. There have been tons of studies that have really shown the benefits of getting out in nature, of interacting with plants, of growing your own plants, all of those sorts of things. And for me as a child, a lot of my time was spent outdoors, and like seeing the roly-polies is very nostalgic. Seeing things like daffodils, like tulips, like all of the plants that I used to like remember when I was a child, those things are very nostalgic, and they put me back in a place when I was a happy young child and there was infinite summer and it seemed like summer was forever. And most people understand gardening, but the bird watching is the thing that takes a little bit more explaining to people. Bird watching will let you predict the future like nothing else I have ever seen. When you've been paying attention to the birds for a while and you've been feeding them and you know their behaviors and you know their schedules, and then they deviate from their schedules, you know something's happening. It's either a big weather event or the seasons are changing or something like that. And if you're like me and you live in Maryland, when the weather patterns are mythological and the seasons are made up, it's very beneficial to have some idea of, you know, which of the 37 times we think we're going to get snow are going to be the one time we actually get snow. I know if a bunch of birds show up at the feeder at the same time and they're all playing well together and they're not fighting for the food, they're just trying to eat and get back home as fast as possible, there's something coming. I know as soon as the juncos arrive, it is officially winter, and as soon as they're gone, it is officially spring. And I will be doing a video on my smart bird feeder because I love that. That is like my current season tracker right now. And between knowing both gardening and bird watching, people will think you are a wizard because you can make life out of nothing and you can predict the weather patterns. In a previous era, you would have been literally a wizard. You could have sold your services to the highest bidder. And I think the thing that will surprise you the most is the impact that it has on your mental health, especially if you are somebody that has seasonal depression. I have really struggled very bad with seasonal depression for many years, but it has gotten to be an even bigger monster since 2020. Getting out in the sun, having my feet on the ground and in the dirt where like the microbes are, and I don't know if there's energy or I don't know if there's specific microbes that have a medicinal benefit, but what I do know is that if I stop coming outside and touching the dirt and walking in the dirt and stuff like that, I start to feel like crap emotionally. And because of that, it's particularly important that I know when winter is coming, that I know that I need to get my crap in gear because it's about to get really cold really fast. That's a great benefit that comes from having that bird knowledge. I also think that a lot of people are just lacking small successes in their lives. Like a lot of us have very unfulfilling jobs. Like it used to be you had a job and your job directly or indirectly helped another human being. Nowadays, most of the time your job is preventing your boss from getting sued or preventing your boss from losing money. It's nothing to do with helping anybody that you actually give a crap about. You have so many small successes every day when you do gardening and bird watching and bird feeding and things like that. I've been really trying to plant a lot of native plants so we can bring back the native insects and therefore the native birds and stuff like that, because when you have the right native birds for your property, then you're going to have birds that are eating all of the bugs that are preying on your plants. And that's why I say gardening and bird watching go in tandem. When you have the right birds in your garden, gardening becomes significantly significantly easier. And when you have the right plants in your garden, getting the birds that you want to attract because they're local and native to your region, it's a lot easier. I saw a bird the other day, and I forgot what its name is, but I'm going to put the terrible picture that I took of it below. I saw a bird the other day that I had never seen here, and I was so excited because I looked it up and it was something that belonged here. And like so often for most of my life, if I saw a bird and I'm like, oh, that's a weird looking bird, it's invasive and it's not supposed to be here. And it's been great at building up connections in the local region. Like my next door neighbor would see me down here in the garden and she would call down, oh, like I love your plants. And now we talk a lot more and we have things to talk about, which is, for me, making that initial connection with somebody is very hard because I'm autistic and I don't necessarily know what people are going to be like and what they're going to like and things like that. And I'm very awkward, and having a designated safe neutral topic is so good for me. And like when you have this in place, it really makes you feel like more of a system, more of a community, more like you're having an impact on the world around you. A lot of ducks in my videos recently. You guys don't know yet because that video hasn't aired yet. I am also the type of person that my brain is hypervigilant from all of the things that happened to me when I was a child. It needs something to hyperfixate on. It needs something to put that hypervigilance into, and it needs to be, crucially, something that is not going to turn me into an anxiety-ridden mess. Like, it needs to not be something critically important. I need to not be hypervigilant about the people in my life or things like that. That's not good. I need to not be overly hypercritical of my own editing when I'm doing my videos, because then I don't do videos for months. Having something that I can really think about every little detail, every little plant is a little ecosystem with its own little needs. The bad part of my brain is kind of like a toddler. If I don't keep it occupied with something like Swifty lore or bird watching or taking care of my garden, it is going to get entirely too fixated on stuff that I don't want it to be fixated on. It's gonna run off like a little toddler and get in as much trouble as it could, and then running back to me with the spiraling downfall of my mental health. So I'm going to go a little bit more into the mental health piece, more than like just microbes and the sun and caring for things might make you feel better. I think there are a lot of different ways that it makes you feel better. Me personally, weeding is one of the best ways that I get rid of stress. So like if I have like a bad phone call with somebody, if somebody has been antagonistic to me, rather than like yelling at them on the phone, I go outside and that's stupid, I can't believe they did that. I'm pulling my weeds. I'm using that anger to kind of like fuel my weed pulling. And after I get done, I feel a lot better because instead of having that energy like bound up inside me, like I used to do it, like how I functioned for many years, I'm letting that out in a method that doesn't hurt me and gets stuff done. I also think that when I was a kid and when I worked in retail, there was a lot of like lead up to holidays and like the winter season and stuff like that. There were like sales when I worked in retail, and there were like art activities and things like that when you went to school. For me, like seeing my garden grow and change throughout the year helps me stay in sync with the seasons more. I'm no longer getting to Christmas and being like, holy crap, it doesn't even feel like Christmas. Like because my garden has been dead for like 2 months by Christmas, I'm like desperate for a little bit of that winter cheer. And a lot of people make both gardening and bird watching into a form of active meditation. Like for me, especially when I'm photographing birds, I'm in this like in the moment state where I'm just wholly focused on the moment. And as a meditative technique, that is something that is really helpful for me, and just like in kind of like changing headspace. When I'm stuck in one headspace, a lot of times I'll go outside and I'll take some pictures of some birds, and then it allows me to transition into a headspace that might be a little bit better for the things that I need to get done. I go into freeze state very easily, and unfortunately when I'm in freeze state, it is very hard for me to do anything. And when I start feeling that freeze state to come on, go out to the garden, go out and do some bird watching, and kind of interrupt that freeze state like as it's beginning. I am more productive when I spend time in the garden, when I spend time bird watching, because I'm spending less time in a dysregulated state. And I'm realizing now, like, I understand now why like nature walks and things like that are an actual, it's like a medical recommendation when you have mental health problems in Japan. And I'm realizing now just how intimately nature and your relationship with nature and your relationship with the people and the animals around you, how much that all helps you root in today and not go off into flights of fancy. It is a lot easier for me to stay
present when I spend a lot of time in my garden. I've been under significant pressure in my life to maintain a consistent level of productivity, like to always be getting the same amount of stuff done, but that's just not practical for me. I can get a ton done in a short period of time, like more than most people can do in that short period of time, but I'm going to need a long time to rest afterwards. If I want to maintain anything close to steady, one of the things that needs to be a steady part of my input is both nature and the relaxation and the meditation that comes from nature. Like I said, birdwatching, gardening, these are kind of two facets of interacting with nature, of like rebalancing yourself with nature. The simple fact of the matter is that a lot of us have not felt safe for a large portion of our lives. And one of the things that is key to feeling healthy mentally is having that safeness where you can deregulate. You don't have to be hypervigilant all the time. You don't have to have your guard up all the time.
And once you've cultivated that little space, you can invite people over to see it, you can take pictures of it. And for me, I've always loved photography, but I don't really love taking pictures of people. I'm like, people aren't terribly interesting to me. But I love nature photography, I love bird photography, and crucially, I do not want to spend hours crouched in a den somewhere so I can get a picture of a bird. That's silly to me. I want to know that the birds are going to arrive roughly at 4:30 p.m. every day so I can get my tripod out at 4:15. Like, that's just so much easier. There's so many birds that are gardeners' friends, and this is where I really love my bird buddy again, because those birds really like to be close to humans and interact with humans. So they're great models for my pictures, but they're also great to attract to the house to like eat the bugs that I don't want on my plant. And like a lot of times they will fly like fairly close around me. The sparrows especially like flying around me really fast and getting a good look of me, and it's just so fun. It makes you feel like a Disney princess. And crucially, like I said, this nostalgia piece, like when I was a child, my ideal life was Golden Girls. I just wanted to be with my friends and like hang out and do parties and like gardening and stuff like that. That's what my priorities were. And that's why like when I hit 38 and I'm like, okay, this is my midlife crisis. Who am I gonna be for the next phase of my life? And I'm like, well, I remember a childhood when I just wanted to be outside. I wanted to be touching the dirt. If I could have just been a gardener all my life and paid my bills, I think I would have probably done that, or a bird watcher or a bird photographer. Those are the things that I really loved in my childhood, and those are the things that really root me in my meanness as well. And I think that's why for like, especially those later Gen X's, those millennials, those elder Gen Z's, those of us who a lot of our childhood was spent outside, because for a lot of us, you know, we would come home from school, our parents would say, go outside and don't come back inside until dinner time. And then after dinner, it's like, go outside, don't come back in until, you know, bath time. So for a lot of us in that age range, there is a very deep linked nostalgia to outside. And even if you're not in that age range, I think there's just this deep linked part of being human from our roots in agriculture that wants to play in the dirt, that wants to play with things like that. And I know that one of the biggest arguments is just going to be like, I do not know how to garden. And like, that's fine. I do have an intro to gardening video coming out, and it's specifically intro to gardening for people that are probably a little neurodivergent. I didn't necessarily write it out to be gardening for neurodivergents, but the fact that I am very neurodivergent and this is what has worked for me leads me to believe that it will probably be beneficial to other people. So if you're like, I'm on board with all of what you're saying, I just have the numbest thumb. I used to be so bad with plants. I used to kill bamboo, I used to kill succulents. I have killed so many plants in my life, and I have found the tips that really work for me. I can't get forgettable plants. I have to get plants that are going to be an active presence in my life. And those active presences in my life are going to be things that I want to take care of daily, that I look over daily. Like, what are your needs, little plants? So if you have any questions for that video, please let me know. I may do a video on bird watching too. I'm probably gonna do a video on bird watching too separately, but we'll see.